pump rounds directly into your chest. People are like, ooh, that's radical. No, it's not. My ancestors were mean. My ancestors didn't put up with people's garbage. And you know what? I got freedom. My family's got land because they fought for it. I am successful because my genetics and my background are from aggressive people that aren't going to get pushed around, but also moral people who know how to shake hands on a deal and do what you say you're going to do and deliver. It's called Americana. It's called what made this country great. And you know what? Regardless of what background you come from, you've got ancestors like that. So how about we uphold our family names and live up to something good instead of letting a bunch of globalists run over us? Let's go to this clip, and then I'll go to your phone calls, and then I'm going to give you financial news. Let's go ahead, and here is Scalia saying, well, you can't have something that's scary. Wow, what? I mean, folks, do you know that the Supreme Court justice is saying you can't have something that's scary? Well, I mean, a butcher knife isn't scary when my wife's cutting carrots with it, but let me tell you, I pull it out and threaten to jab it in your heart or slit your throat with it. It's super scary. Well, see, that's the difference. You can't menace somebody for no reason with something. That's what's illegal, not the Battle Act, Scalia. And you know that well, Scalia. And boy, he looks like he was at the end of a plank or something, like somebody had a gun to his back when he's saying this. I mean, he knows he's committing suicide with his supporters, politically. Political suicide. And why are they walking the plank? Because let me tell you, they're bought and paid for, folks, and the bankers are circling the wagons. They're imploding the world. They're bringing in world government. They're engineering a collapse, and they're not going to have anybody stand in the way of that. Let's go to Scalia. Here it is.
To an issue that is in the news right now with the massacre in Colorado, and that is gun control. You wrote in 2008 the opinion in District of Columbia v. Heller, the majority opinion that said the Second Amendment means what it says. People have a right to bear arms. Question, how far does that constitutional right go? Can a legislature ban semi-automatic weapons, or can it ban magazines that carry 100 rounds without violating an individual's constitutional right to bear arms?
What the opinion in Heller said is that it will have to be decided in future cases what limitations upon the right to keep and bear arms are permissible. Some undoubtedly are, because there were some that were acknowledged at the time. For example, there was a tort called affrighting, which if you carried around a really horrible weapon just to scare people, like a head axe or something, that was I believe, a misdemeanor. So, yes, there are some limitations that can be imposed. What they are will depend on what the society understood were reasonable limitations at the time. There were certain location limitations. But what
about these technological limitations? Obviously, we're not now talking about a handgun or a musket. We're talking about a weapon that can fire 100 shots in a minute.
We'll see. I mean, obviously, the amendment does not apply to arms that cannot be hand carried. It's to keep and bear, so it doesn't apply to cannons. But I suppose there are handheld rocket launchers that can bring down airplanes that will have to be it'll have to be decided.
How do you decide that if you're a textualist?
Very carefully. My starting point and probably my ending point will be what limitations are within the understood limitations that the society had at the time. They had some limitations on the nature of arms that could be borne. So we'll see what those limitations are.
That is not true, and there were not location controls. They had their guns in church. Total lie. And no one can have a grenade launcher, a rocket launcher. You can buy them for movies and stuff and shoot a toy rocket out of them, but you can't get the warheads. That's just absolutely locked up in armories. They know that. But he says it'll have to be adjudicated because you can have a rocket launcher. Now, that compared to Savage and all of them just saying ban all semi-autos, Michael Savage has now become Michael Moore. And a lot of people are like, hey, I'll turn my gun in if he says do it. Okay, well, listen, you want to listen to an old beatnik who figured out there was a conservative market and took it over? Knock yourselves out. You know, I'm not trying to get into a big fracas. The point is the article's up there if you can face the reality, how much trouble we're in. Frank in North Carolina, then Ghost Recon in Oregon. Frank, thanks for holding. You're on the air. What do you make of all these big Republicans coming out and saying the same thing? Ban semi-autos.
Well, actually, I was calling to talk about Scalia, but you've already covered that. It doesn't
go ahead.
surprise me. Yeah, it does. No, you've already covered it. It doesn't surprise me at all. I just wasn't sure if you were aware of him on the. I'm not even sure what show that was, but yeah, I heard some of that earlier today. But are you aware that? Have you talked to Colonel Six lately?
No, I don't think he's gotten through. Why?
Well, I'm not sure if it's true or not, but I understand that he's an African-American Marine colonel, pretty big. I think he led some tank brigade into Baghdad or something like that during the first Gulf War. Well, I hope I'm not incorrect on this, but I understand that he is dead. He supposedly was an outspoken critic of Obama, and I understand he committed suicide recently.
You're joking. Folks, look that up right now. I mean, I knew that he was who he said in the Marines. I didn't know about that particular. And I know he said that that top general was going to be brought down. Who was the one that got removed in Afghanistan? The name will pop in my head in a minute. He said that was going to happen months before. He did give us a lot of good stuff. You're saying he got Arkansided?
Well, I don't know. I heard this on some shortwave show about a week or so ago. He is apparently dead. It sounded like a very credible report.
All right, I'll look into it. Well, listen, if I end up committing suicide, folks, that's a lie. In fact, I've got my living will filed here with local lawyers. I have handwritten that I want full everything, and that I added Darth Vader level life support. Yeah, I want the whole 9 yards. I want everything. I will never commit suicide ever, 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 ever. Just get that straight. Oh my gosh. Well, I hope that's not the case, sir. I hope that was a rumor or something. Wow. Do you have anything else you'd like to add?
Yeah. Did you ever see the movie Shooter?
Yes, Mark Wahlberg, very good movie, very, very accurate.
Marine scout sniper gets set up, and it shows in meticulous detail how they go about setting someone up to become a shooter and a patsy.
No, they hire you to be part of a drill, just like 7/7 it came out, and then they blow you up. Yeah, they're very accurate. You're right.
I worked in a movie theater back in the early 80s. It was, at the time, it was a state-of-the-art theater. It's a sixplex or whatnot, and I worked there for a couple of years in high school. When those doors open, those exit doors, trust me, we knew it. This is back in the early 80s, and we were required to run down there and run the kids off because there was we did the midnight movies, we did all of that. I mean, we were
yeah, and of course, and on the opening of a Batman, you're going to have people in that hallway back there where it opens up. You're going to have people in the theater. I mean, it's standard procedure. The whole thing's cockamamie, folks. God bless you. I appreciate your call. Yeah, we'll look into what he said there. Ghost in Oregon, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Hey, Alex, how's it going? It's great to talk to you.
It's not going too good. I mean, our worst nightmares are coming true. They're going to move. They're going to move on the guns. So.
I agree. I totally agree. I'm ex-military myself. I've been out since 98, and I woke up back then during the service, and I got to tell the listeners that you must listen to Alex. He knows what he's talking about. This is not a joke. It's not a game. These people are serious, and they really want to come for your guns. And when they do it, they're not going to knock on your door, and they're not going to be cool about it. They're just going to come in, and they're going to take what they want. And they're going to put a bullet in anything that stops or tries to stop them. And people need to wake up to this. I don't understand why so many people are arguing about the Constitution. It blatantly states that the guns are there so we can defend ourselves, so we can
from the government at a time. This is when the Second Amendment was meant to be. I mean, this is it. We've been taken over by foreign banks that brag they've done it. I mean, how arrogant is this? We've got a homeland security system there to absorb the old republic. It's all run by pedophiles and criminals publicly. And it's a joke what we put up with. And they plan to march the military and police up against the American people, and it's going to be a giant civil war. And that's the false flag. They want to start this. And I again tell the military and police, do not be part of it. Do not be part of it. And don't just say you won't be part of it. You've got to speak out now, okay? That is the bare minimum, ladies and gentlemen. You've got, listen, just look at Napolitano, look at Obama, look at these globalists, look at Bill Kristol. They're a bunch of scum. These are authoritarians. Bill Kristol thinks you're so dumb. He wrote an article with Dick Cheney saying we need a big terror attack that'll kill 3,000 people like Pearl Harbor, and we need race-specific weapons to kill certain people and have the media agree with it, and we're going to launch a big takeover and have a police state in America. September 20th, 2000, Rebuilding America's Defenses PNAC. Rand Corporation writes all this because they know the public doesn't read it. How do I know it's going to happen? Because they've told us what they're going to do. That's how dumb they think we are. They're operating open in front of us. I mean, it's ridiculous. Anything else, sir?
It comes out, there's a brand new thing that they sit there and they release, and everybody, ooh, but it's really not that new. I mean, they post this information months, sometimes years before they actually do it, but it's all out there. You just have to bloody well read. People are just so inept and so just, I want everything yesterday, give me my fries and my drink and my shake or whatever.
Meanwhile, Harvard admits with over a dozen studies that fluoride is eating our brain. And folks, they put it in all the different children's products. The kids are mentally retarded. They're murdering us. People are like, that's a little harsh. That's reality. We're run by total psycho mad scientists. I don't know how else to get this across to people. I guarantee you, if I walked up to the average cop and slapped them in the face, they would beat my head in with the billy club and take me to jail. And they should. But people weaponize food and water, and and not just police, the general public loves being assaulted. You know how sick it is to go to a grocery store and see all over everywhere, 4 kids, fluoride toothpaste, fluoride water, 4 babies, Pedialyte with aspartame. I mean, they know what that's doing to people, folks. This is a sick joke. This is the sickest of jokes. Thank you so much, sir. I'm going to come back at some financial news. Then we'll get to Tim, Aaron, Ken, and others. We're going to have popping in on the show Larry Pratt about the devastation we're facing, the head of the Gunners of America, what this signifies. I know in all his years, I would imagine, I don't know, I'm going to ask him, has he ever seen most of the Republican leadership come out and say, well, you don't need semi-auto. I mean, this is like Bill Clinton has suddenly has possessed Michael Savage. I mean, we are in because, folks, they only uncloak like this when they're about to drop the hammer. They're getting ready for martial law in October. I'm not saying that's coming. That's in the news, where the DHS is preparing for civil unrest in the election, collapse. This is Alex Jones with Colonel 6 had given me his real name, and I'd looked up who he was. Unless the person on the other end of the phone who gave me a lot of good info was somebody impersonating a African-American Marine Corps colonel who had just gotten out of the service a few months before. He gave us a lot of info. His site has not been updated since June. I'm trying to dig up his real name. It's somewhere here in our notes. We called his cell phone. It's been disconnected. He'd been on as a guest. He gave us nothing but good information. He told us when certain generals were going to be gone, that scandals were coming up, all sorts of stuff. And if he did commit suicide, that's very suspicious. Now, for this segment and the next, and then Larry Pratt is going to be joining us. I'll continue with your calls. We're joined by Ted Anderson. He hadn't been on with us in months. Here's CNBC.com. Gold to hit 2,000 by year.